very fascinated by film in many ways, and I think it's a very strong media. It's a complete different language, and I think it's also a little bit more challenging making film than it is to make music. In music, you can sometimes talk it's a much more abstract language in some sort of way. I mean, you're working only with one thing, and that's sound, and that's why you can make it a little bit more detailed, I feel. While when you make a movie, you have all the senses there, and that makes it sometimes very powerful, because you can combine picture and sound, and then something third comes out of that somehow. And then on the other hand, you can also make really bad combinations of those two things. But you definitely have more strings to play in film, which I really love and I find very fascinating in many ways. We had a great US tour, and it was really, really nice. And then we went to Iceland for the first time, did the airwaves, and did some touring in November. We did our first sort of Danish tour in Denmark in all the smaller cities, and then we did a few sort of like off concerts, like to exotic places like Moscow and St. Petersburg and Istanbul. And then we took a sort of like a small winter break, December and January. And then we started working on this messing orchestra piece that we did in Holland last month. At the same time, we also finished the film in Ireland, of course. So it's been a lot about an island and trying to get that out and finishing it. And 2 days ago, we finished a big European tour here in this building. And that's been very exciting, traveling around too. It's been one of the best attendances of the shows, and it's really feel like a culmination of a lot of things. So it was really great too. It's always really tricky, I think, sometimes playing in your hometown. I mean, I'm saying hometown, I'm not really living here anymore, but just the fact that when you look around, you see 20 people 20 faces that you know. And I think actually it sometimes have the opposite effect, that you start wondering too much about stuff. So I think for the first sort of four and five songs, I just had to adjust to it, and then sort of like just close the eyes and sort of get in the concert mode. Then of course it was special in many ways. We had 5 guests with us, people that's been recording with us and touring with us, and the fact that it was here and it was filled with people, and it was a great atmosphere, and it was really like a great culmination of all the best moments, you can say, in many ways. And of course also a little bit sentimental, because we know that we're going to have a break now, and we kind of will take a while before we start playing again. And but at the same time, I know that we have a lot of things to do, so it's not like I don't see it as a big ending like that. But it felt a little bit like this kind of anniversary or something like that, like where you invite all the key persons that has been involved in Efterklang, and we had a huge guest list with people that have been working with us over the years, and all the parents were there and stuff like that. So of course it was like a big sort of celebration of a lot of things. I've always wanted to live in Berlin. I've always found it a very interesting city, and not too far from home. And it has sort of like a perfect location in many ways. I moved in with my girlfriend down there. She's German, so she lived there already, so it was very easy for me to decide on that. And then Mads moved there with his girlfriend, and she's American, but she's been working in Hungary for a while, so there was kind of like a perfect meeting point in many ways. And it's primarily Mads and I that does the most songs and the songwriting, like the starting up of the songs, and we also do a few other projects, sort of theater and film and stuff like that. That it makes sense, and it kind of feels that it could work, because having the rest of the band staying in Copenhagen and us staying there, it fits the way that we make music anyway. Like it's always us that starts the things out, and then we kind of meet somewhere and then we develop it. So I hope it's kind of still really new and fresh, but I hope it will work in some sort of way. And then we found a studio there, and it's like actually a small house, and that's we've sort of been restoring that over the past like months, since November or something like that. Painting and tearing down stuff and building up other stuff. So we met Mathieu Vincent Moon in Austin at the South by Southwest Festival in 2009. Then he did a takeaway show in New York with us, and kind of shortly after that we started talking about he really wanted to do like a longer thing with us, like a bigger project, more than a takeaway show, and more like a film or something like that. So we had this sort of option floating around, and we were talking about this project a few times with him and sort of kept the contact. And then we basically, when we released Magic Chairs, and then shortly after that we kind of got back to that idea and tried to find a location for it and a way of doing it. And then we figured out that actually it would make sense for us to do it on our home island where 3 of us grew up, Als in the south part of Denmark. We also had a concert there, so it sort of made sense to build it around that whole thing. We were picking out locations that we knew very well from our childhoods, and places that we've been, schools that we've been to, and so on. And then we presented all these locations to Mathieu, and he would come up with suggestions like, could we do that and that and that, and then we tried to find some locations, like, and then we ping pong stuff. But basically he didn't knew what the island looked like when he arrived there. And I think you can see that afterward in the pictures too, in many ways, like in a very positive way. The way that he pictures the island and us on the island. You as a viewer look at the island in a complete other way than I look at it. It's a very big island actually, and when you watch the film you feel like it's a very small place in some sort of way. But that's exactly the great dynamic there is between those things, and I think that's actually what the project is much about. Like, it's us taking both our live bands and Mathieu with us to this place that we know very well, and kind of showing them around. He already had sort of an idea of what he wanted to shoot, an abstract storyline of what he wanted to do. And we were basically just doing what we were doing. So what I remember from that time is very different from what I'm seeing in the movie, but I still feel like the movie is brilliant. I'm very proud of it. So it's really, it was a nice match, I think. Well, there's always surprises when you work with Mathieu. That's sort of like what he does, and also what makes it exciting somehow. We're very perfectionistic in our band of what we're doing, and we're always doing things very sort of detailed and very correct for ourselves, and trying to find like a sense in the insanity somehow. And he's from a complete other school somehow, and he wants to see some, you could say, like live and some kind of so you really feel that there's a real human in front of you somehow. So it'd always be like we had a setting, like a location, and then we had decided like we wanted to do this song and that and that and that. And then in the last minute, Mathieu would go in and add like an extra sort of challenge to it, like what about doing this and this and this in his way, and you would go like, no, we can't do that, and that's like it's not gonna fit the song. And we were at the most safe place that we could be, but at the same time with this crazy French director pushing us to do a lot of things. That's the only director I know that's that good at pushing musicians, because he's really like a musician himself somehow, and the way that he films, he go with you in there in the experiment somehow. So you never feel like he's just directing you to do something, and therefore you always trust, because we're big fans of his work, so we always trust that the end result somehow will turn out being great. That was actually one of the, you can say, one of the easier ones for us to perform. Of course, there's obviously some with sound and stuff that is difficult, and it's difficult with a moving truck. We had a van driving next to it with material in it so he could film. And then we had a breakdown on the car because the car was actually, it was a friend of Rasmus' brother that bought this car just the day before. So there was actually a problem. So there's this clip where the car sort of breaks down, and actually the whole, I don't know what it's called, but there's this sort of tube or this thing that combines the two wheels, like from the motor to the wheel. This thing that goes around under the truck. That broke completely, sort of they had to drag it back with another car, and so it was kind of serious in many ways. But just before it broke down, we kind of made the shot and made it work somehow. And the forest you see there is it's the longest in Denmark actually. It's sort of like a stripe of forest, so it goes through like this road that we are driving on, and then this forest, long forest around it somehow. So, but that was really easy in many ways. That song is also really easy to play, you can say in many ways, in this kind of takeaways style. So you have a rhythm all the time. I think some of those Magic Chair songs have been much more easier for us to adapt to that frame somehow. We did a take of Modern Drift, for instance, with 4 pianos. 5, it might be actually 5 pianos in in a big concert hall in the city of the islands, and that took a long time to make work. And I think also that's why it didn't really end up in the movie. It's not really in the spirit of Vincent Moon anyway. So he just got more and more frustrated with us playing the song 10,000 times, and so I think actually when I just saw it the other day, and it works really nicely. I like it a lot, but it didn't really fit either the story of the film or the concept of it somehow. So that was definitely the most difficult one to perform. Plus that the one with the parents, of course, was a little tricky, and also kind of like this big frustrations up until the moment where we kind of do it. The idea of it was that we were playing a song with our parents, and then suddenly Mathieu, 5 minutes before we're doing it, saying like, well, wouldn't it be amazing if we made the parents play the song by themselves? And we were like, no, that's not a really good idea. It would sound horrible. But somehow we found like a compromise in there, and some really amazing, really sweet pictures of both Rasmus sitting and showing his dad like how to play the synthesizer, and he's messing it up, and Thomas with his father playing the drums, and Mads with his mom playing the organ and so on. It turned out being really, really nice, but it was definitely some challenges there. We definitely have a lot of extra material that we can put in some kind of maybe a DVD package or something like that. That's what we're kind of brewing on right now, trying to figure out where to take it after this private public screenings periods that we're doing, and maybe see if we can finance some kind of DVD package. I think it makes sense in many ways because we could include a lot of other material, plus maybe do a small release of some live material too, and combine it all. Rasmus are sitting and doing all the business side of our projects. He was thinking that why don't we kind of let people screen make their own screenings? Because we have a lot of people all over the world that have been helping us many times, and a lot of contacts. So it started just like, why don't we just ask them to do a screening of the movie in their local cafe and their local home or stuff like that. And that whole thing develops to this ideas that is like people can simply just make their own screening for their friends, or for friends and strangers and so on. And then it's also very much in the spirit of Vincent Moon's work, in the way that he distributes his art in many ways, and so it fits a lot of it fits this project a lot. I think also the sort of like the community feeling of an island being a community, and us going to our community and playing with the people of the islands. And then on the top of that, it's also just a really nice way to show people the film. I think in many ways it's much better that they watch it this way than on their computer with their headphones on and by themselves. So the idea of having people watching the film together, maybe even making friends, is just brilliant. We didn't want to make a film with just us playing music. That we found a little boring, actually. So we thought it would be nice if we could sort of, if it was also about the place that we were in, and if it could be this kind of combination of us playing music, but also like the locals in the place, the countryside, the site itself, and the sound of the island. This guy is one of the most winning riders. It's called ring riding. Like in Sønderborg, the big city where I'm from, they have this huge festival every year in summer, where there's a big sort of caravan parade moving through the city with all the riders that are in the competition. And they basically have like this long, what is it called, like lance, it's like a long stick. And then you have a ring hanging from some strings, and then you ride against the ring, and then you have to sort of to hit it somehow. For every round, it's sort of the hole gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and that's the basic idea of it. And it's a really big deal during the summer in that whole region of the country. You don't have to be a fan of Efterklang or even know who we are, especially also because it's just as much like a Vincent Moon film where he's using Efterklang as a platform in many ways, and the place that he are. But he's also doing a film on his own, and you can simply just watch the film and enjoy it for what it is, and you don't have to have any information about it. And I think that's really great, and also that's been what we've been noticing from the screenings, that it surprised people in a really nice way. I think it's also a great introduction to what we do in some sort of way. You get to know a little bit about how we make music and how we look when we make music, and the film is very much about not only just the music of Efterklang, but also like just the fascination of sound in general. There's been put a lot of energy into making field recordings and ambience of the place, and documenting the place not only in pictures but also as sound. So for us it's been exciting just to be in a film production where we could actually contribute with other than just like playing music, but also like a whole sound design and even commenting on the pictures and so on. So I think a project like we did here is just perfect for us, because we can sort of have a peek in the film world on a very sort of like an easy laid back kind of way, because we're not really making the film, but we can in this process we could respond on how they were editing the film, and we could contribute with our fascination of sound and so on, and then that combination and the process of making some art in that sort of way felt just extremely interesting, and really at some points even more interesting than making albums as a band. And I feel that that's really what we got from it, was just a really sort of it's interesting. It's an interesting way of working. It's great to receive an award from so many independent labels that we know are receiving a lot of music and are listening to a lot of music. So it's you could say that like as an industry award, it's fantastic.
And I don't know if they're still around. They strangers in the clouds.